let's get stream out going. Okay, we're good. I had a post that performed quite well recently. I wanted to come on here and talk about it a little bit more in depth. And that was with regards to how the industry is changing. And I wanted to elaborate a little bit more on this and discuss how the way we work is changing. Because if you haven't already noticed, the way that we work has evolved since the pandemic, and it's going to continue to change because the way in which we work is not serving us, nor has it for quite some time. Our lifestyle and our work life have been in conflict with each other for quite some time, and the way that we work is not conducive to a healthy lifestyle. It's not conducive to productivity. It's not conducive to optimal sleep, optimal energy levels. It's not conducive to much other than stress, if I'm honest. And I can comment on this because I've been in this industry for 15 years. I've been working as a personal trainer for 10 and recently shifted into the high performance coaching side of things. I'm seeing a lot of trends in terms of what people are saying. People are honestly sick of working themselves into the ground for little to no reward, little to no recognition, and little to no time to do anything that actually serves them. People's bandwidths are so stretched that they have no reason to continue to pursue their career when they're not working in a job that fulfills them in the first place, nor are they really having any of their basic needs met. What do I mean by basic needs? People should be able to, at some point, switch off from work. Some people are so engaged with their work from a place of needing to be, from necessity, from work pressure, that it's almost impossible for them to actually disconnect. Now, that would be different if they were in a job that fulfilled them, gave them energy, gave them a reason to spring out of bed in the morning. But for, I'm going to say at least 95% of us, if not more, that's just not the case, unfortunately. So workplaces are going to have to evolve, or they are going to notice mass resignations, which we already saw in the early stages of the pandemic. We are going to see more and more entrepreneurship. We're going to see more and more people build side hustles so that they can leave their 9 to 5 and unshackle themselves from the golden handcuffs that they have. So workplaces better listen up and they better pay attention to what people are saying. And the thing is, most workplaces seem to have little to no idea about how their employees truly feel. And again, I hear this on the daily. I hear from my own clients about how long their days are, how intense their hours are, how busy their schedules are, how many travel-related business trips they have, work-related business trips they have, and they just seem to have no bandwidth to themselves. And they're constantly in a state of reacting, replying, responding, but they're yet to actually have the space and bandwidth to be proactive when it comes to things such as their health. And your workplace doesn't care about your health. Your workplace cares about you meeting workplace KPIs, you doing revenue generating activities. But the irony is, when a workplace is filled with healthy people tend to be more productive. Healthy people tend to be able to contribute more to their workplace and for longer. So one thing that I am anticipating we see in the next 10 years, which we are somewhat very early stage starting to see, is a shift to health enforced metrics and health. I'm great with words today. I'll say that. We're going to see a greater shift towards health focused KPIs taking precedent over business-focused KPIs. If we look at the company Whoop, who started the Whoop band, if you're not familiar, that's a trackable, traceable, wearable device which measures things such as heart rate variability and sleep quality. They themselves, the business Whoop themselves, actually uses the metrics of employees to determine how well they are performing. And employees are incentivized to get really good quality sleep because that is information that the workplace can see. So how you perform when it comes to your sleep is in fact a huge KPI for the business of Whoop. And again, people are incentivized to do well when it comes to getting enough sleep. That is a huge shift we're going to see. So businesses can continue to push, demand more, and stretch you thinner and thinner and thinner. Ultimately, people are going to be worn so thin that they're going to end up resenting the workplace if they don't already. They're going to end up looking for something else. And I can tell you now, most people I train are proactively looking for other roles and other jobs and other companies and even other countries to move to for their work. They are going to either start their own side hustle and build it up to the point that they can move from their current place, and or they're just going to get fed up one day and they're just going to leave. Why should a workplace push a person to the point of that person's health being compromised? That's not fair. And workplaces have taken it for granted for too freaking long. People are not okay with it anymore. People are not tolerating it anymore. People are starting to push back, and so they should. Because if we continue to say yes, workplaces will feel like they can continue to take advantage of our health. And that's why we are where we are today. Let me say that. So that's one big shift that we're going to continue to see. Workplaces are going to be measured when it comes to places like Glassdoor by the healthiness of their employees. There's going to be a health performance indicator or several health performance indicators which are going to determine the healthiness of a workplace. Not just whether people are happy to be there or not just whether people stay there for 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, whether people get paid handsomely or not. People are going to start measuring the healthiness of a workplace and looking to understand how healthy you are likely to be as an employee of a particular workplace, based on how much a workplace cares about your health, based on how much a workplace prioritizes your health. And so what do I mean by that? What does that look like in a more structured, formatted way? The way I see it is workplaces are going to have chief health officers. And we are starting to see very early stages of this. If we look at the businesses behind Gary Vaynerchuk, he has a chief heart officer, and her name escapes me for this current second, though I do follow her on Instagram. She is responsible for the happiness of employees, the relationships with employees, the overall work-life balance, satisfaction of employees. And I see this becoming more and more prevalent. We are going to have chief health officers because businesses can only be sustained by healthy people. So if your employees are not healthy, and chances are their health has room for improvement, as we all do, if the workplace is not proactive in addressing the health of its employees, the business can only be so successful, okay? So the way I see it is there's going to be a team of people focused on helping you to integrate your work and life and health, tying in those three elements together so that you can be effective, productive, feel energized, feel excited to go to work, feel happy with the amount of time you can dedicate to your home, to your personal pursuits, as well as work itself. I see there being room for a chief fitness officer in larger workplaces who oversees the running and development of perhaps an in-house gym, or even a chief nutrition officer who oversees what is provided on site. So we know places such as LinkedIn have cafeteria, restaurants, same with Google. I've been to those 2 locations in Singapore, so I can comment on that. What we see at LinkedIn is that the less healthy options are less visible. They are less in sight, so out of sight, out of mind, and the healthier options are more visibly seen. And that is just one way in which we can start to integrate healthy habits and healthy behaviors with work. Some people I train are so busy that they don't actually have time to eat because they're on 6, 7, 8 back-to-back meetings and having to coordinate with different time zones. So often when they do get the chance to eat, they're eating either really early or really late, or eating kind of 2 meals at once, like a lunch and afternoon snack or a lunch and dinner situation, which is terrible for digestion. It's not great for your metabolism. It's certainly not good for optimal energy levels. And it's really not good for cognition. Now, what do you need if you're on meetings? You need to be able to think. You need to be able to think on your feet. You need to be able to have the energy to present whatever it is that you're discussing and take in ideas and stay engaged. So this is just one way in which a person, such as a chief nutrition officer or a chief fitness officer or even the chief health officer, can start to embed and implement more of these practices, strategies, and solutions. I see, and I'm going to make a bit of a broad call here, perhaps a bit of a daring call. I see HR being replaced in the future. I see that really changing and taking a different shape for a number of reasons. Everyone hates HR, which tells me that it's not serving its function. HR forgets the H. HR forgets the human and the human relations. HR doesn't really realize that it's dealing with people who have emotions, who have consequences to different life decisions happening. And I have my own personal examples I can share. When I moved to Singapore, I had no job, no money, no visa. And my now ex-husband moved here with his job. When I reached out to the company he was employed by, I received no response. I reached out to them to say, hey, I know you've hired my then boyfriend, and I have a degree in public health. I know you have a corporate health program. Is there any way in which I could perhaps be involved with that or connected to the right person with regards to that? No one got back to me. I train people who have not known whether they would be having their contract renewed until the very last minute, which had flow-on effects and consequences with regards to their lease. Especially when you're an expat, this kind of behavior is inhumane. It's actually baffling that HR, human relations, thinks it is okay to behave in such a manner where people don't know which country they'll be living in until they've only got 2 weeks left on their contract with the company. HR isn't working. It may have worked when it was, first formulated as a concept. It's no longer serving people in the way that they need to be served. People at work need to be seen, heard, understood, validated, and acknowledged. And we all need that in different ways and to different extents and at different points in time. I see HR being replaced by chief health officer and a health board. In addition to that, I see there being more and more in-house mental health professionals. So the likes of counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists, things such as meditation rooms, I see incorporated more and more into the workplace, and we've seen it in a few workplaces as it stands. And I see there being more conversations surrounding, what are you actually going through? What do you need right now when it comes to support? Unfortunately, all too often, the people who really need mental health care are either too busy to get it, or they're too inundated with every other thing that they're going through to actually receive it. Tying into the Ottawa Charter, which describes, essentially a framework for helping people to be more healthy. One of the key pillars to the Ottawa Charter is reorienting health services. We need to have more and more health services available within the workplace or at the doorstep of a workplace. So I see there being valleys of workplaces with health services available at that doorstep. Instead of seeing lots and lots of business towers all next to each other, I see there being more and more communities where there's a workplace, meditation room, a GP clinic, mental health services. Even if we think about things like daycare, if we want women to continue to work in the workplace, then we need to integrate daycare and childcare services more and more into the way that which we approach work. So as you can see, we need to look at work a little more holistically. We need to integrate work and life and health and see the three coming together rather than addressing one or the other, or addressing one at a time. We previously have addressed one at a time. It's not working anymore. Life has become too busy. It's become too fast-paced. It's changed too much. And the model is severely outdated. It has been for some time. I see there being more and more entrepreneurship, and I see there being more and more entrepreneurs within businesses. I see there being more and more consulting of individuals within businesses, where people have the opportunity to contribute to a workplace, but also have the opportunity to work for themselves. It's the only way to retain high-performing individuals. Typically, high-performing, ambitious individuals either want to study or they want to start their own thing. And the only way for big businesses to keep these people is to offer those opportunities. Workplaces are going to have to develop structures and opportunities for their high-performing individuals to continue to work for them whilst also pursuing their own individual pursuits, such as studying, such as starting their own business. We are also seeing very early stages of this in some of the bigger businesses. But to see this at a grand scale, we're not quite there yet. So people are going to have more and more autonomy with regards to their job scope, more and more autonomy with regards to their ability to do consultancy work, and more opportunity to combine study and or starting a family with working. A few other side notes is I see more and more physical fitness facilities being near workplaces, if not on site. More and more in-person personal training at a place such as a personal training studio is becoming too inconvenient for people to get to, especially for those who travel far and wide and frequently. We're going to have to see more and more online personal training and the engagement of more and more coaches. Spending 30 minutes to get to a gym, doing an hour-long session, spending another 30 minutes to shower and travel and get to the office is just not feasible for a lot of people right now, nor is it about to be. The solutions are going to have to change. We're going to see more and more Zoom sessions, more and more online programming, and a greater engagement of high-performance coaches for these high-performing individuals in big corporations. We're going to have to see companies start to subsidize these coaches for the companies that don't proactively have counseling services and coaching services on site. KPIs are going to continue to exist, but they're going to start to look different. KPIs are starting to and will continue to incorporate the health of individuals to contribute to a greater health score of a business. It's not just going to be about whether you are getting paid enough or whether you are satisfied with your job. We are going to start to see people as individuals be assessed on their smoking status, their blood pressure, how many doctor's appointments they have, or how much time off they take from work for doctor appointments. We're going to see happiness index scores. People are going to start being judged on their productivity in the workplace. That is going to be more and more of a KPI as we develop greater ways in which we can measure that. So how long you spend at work is going to become less relevant, as the KPI of productivity is going to be more easily measured and more easily assessed. So in your end of year review or 6 monthly review, whether you were the first person in and the last person out is going to be less relevant to whether you are effective at work. So these changes are going to continue to shift. We're going to start looking at how valuable you are to a company, not just based on how much information you have, not just how much time you've spent in the industry, but things such as the energy you bring to the table, how engaging you are, how healthy you are, how happy you are, how socially integrated you are at work. I see there being room for a chief relationship officer or social relations manager. And again, I think this is one way in which human relations, HR, is going to start to be phased out more and more and replaced more and more. With services becoming more digitalized and readily available too, such as the application of visas, individuals can kind of apply for their own visas now. We don't have so much of a need for HR. What is the skill set of HR? What is the talent of HR? It's not there anymore. It's just not, okay? Again, if you're in Singapore, you know which website to go to. You know that your PIN number is connected with absolutely everything, and the portal is damn easy to follow. We don't need HR anymore. And if you're in HR, I would be looking to jump ship and get into a different profession, because I think you're not needed. Sorry, not sorry. I just don't think there's room there anymore. I think this industry has long been replaced. I don't think the value is there. And I think what the workplace needs instead is, again, chief health officers and chief of fitness, chief of nutrition, chief relationship/social relations officers, and the likes of like a chief heart officer, such as what the Gary Vaynerchuk businesses push for. I hope that was insightful. I hope that was helpful. I hope that was interesting. I just wanted to give a little bit of a spiel with regards to the changes that I see coming within workplaces, especially when it comes to health. Honestly, and especially since the pandemic, I think we all realized how unhealthy we've become and how our health is really not just plateaued, stagnated, diminished, kind of crumbled. That might be a bit of a drastic word, but how much of a backseat our health has had to take because of work. And people who do not feel fulfilled at work are not going to choose to stay at work when their health is so heavily compromised. They may tolerate it for a year, 3 years, 5 years. Everyone has a tolerance limit. And those people are going to find themselves looking for a new job, looking for a different country to move to, looking for a different industry. It's so not worth it anymore. And we have so many new industries coming up, so many new professions. come into the limelight because of new technologies, new softwares. It's just not enough to keep people loyal to a business. I really think loyalty to business, as we've seen in this generation, has already started to diminish. Where my mom's generation would stick around for 12, 15, 20, 25, and in her case, 24 and a half years, we are not going to see those great spans anymore, not for big corporations. We might see entrepreneurs start something and stick at it and build it and grow it and sell it and then start something else. But that period of time to a corporation, that longevity and that loyalty is long gone. If your employees are not fulfilled, don't expect them to stick around. If you don't know if they're fulfilled or not, then you better find out. If they feel that being at work compromises their health and well-being to such an extent that they actually feel less healthy for working for the business than what they do if they were to not be working, then again, they're going to have other options and they're going to have no problem in pursuing those other options. And why wouldn't they? If a business is not contributing to the health and well-being of a person, and proactively so, in the sense of going out of their way to proactively contribute to the health and well-being of a person, I'm sorry, but you should just not expect a person to stay around. I wouldn't. I for sure as hell would not. I mean, if you break it down, if a person is working, let's get a calculator out. This would be a fun equation. If a person is working 60 hours a week for 52 weeks a year, that's 3,120 hours. 3,120, at 300K a year, that's only $96 an hour. Why wouldn't you just work for yourself? I mean, I do work for myself. So, I think you really have to factor that in. And people are working 60-hour weeks. And unfortunately, that's not really abnormal, not in Singapore. Even at $350,000 a year and working 3,120 hours, that's not including travel time. That's not including packing your bag for your trip. That's not including unpacking your bag for your trip. That's not including putting together slideshows on planes. That's not including networking events. I mean, it's probably not 60 hours. It's probably a bit more than that. In any case, $96 an hour is not much, honestly. And it's not enough to keep people around, especially when it's never been easy to do business with the beauty of technology, with Wi-Fi, Shopify, funnels, advertisements, email lists. It's never been easier to get in front of people. It's never been easier to start your own business. $96 an hour? Let me think about it. The answer is no. I could not. So again, we're going to see more and more people become disengaged from work. We're already seeing that. We're seeing people silently just fall off the radar and just not replying to things because, I mean, honestly, why would you? Where's the motivation? You can't expect people to continue to push themselves when there's no reason for them to push themselves. And again, if their health is being compromised as a result of them pushing themselves so hard and wearing themselves out to the point that they can't be the best spouse, the best mother, the best sister, aunt, cousin version of themselves, then you honestly cannot expect people to have that intrinsic desire and motivation to want what's best for the company and the bigger mission of the business. No, sorry, that's not for them to worry about. That's not their priority. They want to be the healthiest version of themselves, the happiest version of themselves. And again, people are going to start looking more and more to how they can create that. That's going to involve a coach. If workplaces want to keep people around, especially high performers, they're going to have to bring in more and more coaches. They're going to have to let their high performing staff start their own thing and have 50% involvement with the business and work 50% on their own consultancy or study. There's some of the shifts that I see happening. People are just motivated differently now. People have so many more options now. And I don't blame people for pursuing that. You would have to. You just can't be this tired and drained and unfulfilled all the time and call it a life. If you don't want people taking, 1 month sabbaticals because they're so worn out from work, you have to give them a reason to stay, which means they have to wake up and feel good. They have to want to be at work. What makes them want to be at work? Knowing that they're going to be a happier, healthier, more engaged version of themselves for being there. I'm just reading a comment. Now, I can't see who this comment is from. If you want to make yourself known, please go ahead and comment your name. If you would prefer not to, that's totally fine. But I appreciate your comment. Let me just read this. I'm listening to you in all total agreement. The more an employer can do to take their workers with them in the betterment of the business, the healthier the individual and overall business will be. Excellent thoughts, Laura. I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, I feel especially the pandemic kind of accelerated this shift in approach and shift in thinking, and everyone had to slow down when the pandemic happened. We physically had to slow down. We obviously couldn't go places. I mean, we couldn't travel. There's still a little bit of PTSD for a lot of people in Singapore because it's such a small bit of land with so many people. And that was an interesting time. I was just thinking about what happened with Black Lives Matter and Mr. Floyd. I forgot his first name, I'm sorry, but I was literally just thinking about this morning and how it was so profound because the whole world noticed, the whole world paid attention because we were all kind of stuck at home, like home life, home and work life, home and work and family life, all at the same time, under the same roof. Like cue the psycho face. How do we do all that under the one roof? That really made people realize, I feel, how much they pour into their work, but yet how little they get from it at the same time. I'm very lucky that I'm in a position where I can pursue my passions and do it on my own terms. And that comes with its own challenges. It's great and sometimes not great and sometimes amazing and sometimes like, do I want a corporate job? Maybe I do. But I mean, I wouldn't change it for anything. The pandemic was really that punctuation to our thoughts where a lot of us had to sit in the discomfort of, holy shit, this is what my life has become. And it's not serving me, nor has it for some time. And I'm definitely not fulfilled. And something has to give. And that's where a lot of people are at with their jobs. A lot of people are at, something has to give. Is it going to be my job or is it going to be my sanity? That is terrible. That is obviously not sustainable. And workplaces don't really, my feeling, because I talk to people who have corporate jobs like every single day, corporations don't get it. Like they are not having these conversations with their employees. They don't understand where people are truly at emotionally when it comes to, do I choose work? Do I choose sanity? Because I can't have both. I can't have work and travel and trying to be a mom and trying to study and trying to start a side hustle or a combination of those things and be sane. And why should people have to choose? Again, as a workplace, if that's where your employees are at, that's a terrible position to be putting people in. You should want to be the leader and show people you can be here and take care of your priorities, whether that's family, whether that's study, whether that's a piano lesson, whether that's gym, whether that's something else, and work when you need to work. And again, when productivity is the measurement, not time spent at work, then we get to create so much more space for us and the things that are of a greater importance to us and things that give us a greater return on our time and energy and effort. And I think that's what people are really trying to get. They just want more energy. They want more fulfillment. They want more connection. They want more appreciation. And so why would you put that into work if you don't get that from work, when you could put that into something that does give you that feeling? Again, whether it's learning piano, whether it's caring for animals, whether it's caring for your child, whether it's learning, studying, that's just normal human behavior. But these conversations need to be had from the people at the top, so to speak, people in HR. And again, this is why HR isn't working. This is why HR is going to be phased out and replaced. If you're in HR, I think your industry is dead because you've not been serving people. You've not been hearing them. You've not been helping them. I say that from my own personal experience, and I say that based on the experiences other people have shared with me. And that's why they've made themselves redundant. Why would you have an HR industry when your HR industry is not actually doing its job? There's just no reason to keep that. That part of the business then becomes completely redundant. It's a waste of resources, and that money could be better spent on getting coaches into the workplace, mental health professionals into the workplace, creating a meditation room, having 10-minute meditation, 15-minute meditations run first thing in the morning, after lunch, in the evening. That's going to be so much more beneficial to people than having a bunch of people with the letters HR before or after their name, when those people are just not, again, doing their job. So I appreciate that comment, and really, this is where the shift will happen. It's only a matter of time. Workplaces will have no choice but to do this. Now, the proactive workplaces will get it. They'll see it. They'll start to create that change. They will be some of the early adopters. And again, we're starting to see some of these changes as we speak. Workplaces are going to need a lot more support and a lot more guidance when it comes to implementing these strategies and identifying which strategies are going to work for their employees and how they carry that out. So those with public health degrees who understand behavioral change, who understand how you can put together effective programs, how they can implement them, engage the audience, assess the efficacy of them, they're probably gonna find themselves in a position where they can, do some consultancy work with some corporations. That's going to be a really powerful and impactful change I'm going to see. Workplaces are going to have their own signature programs, and they're going to be able to sell their workplace to potential employees based on that. If you can say to a potential candidate employee, hey, on average, our employees exercise X amount of minutes per week. They, are 10 times more likely to quit smoking within 6 months of joining. They get 7 hours of sleep a night on average compared to 5.5 hours, which is the average of our competitors. I see this being a huge selling point and being a huge metric that we're going to have to look more and more towards when it comes to getting people not just involved in work, but engaged. If I'm looking at working between this place and that place, and one place tells me, okay, well, we're going to pay you an extra $5,000 a year, that might interest me, maybe. But if the other place says to me, hey, you're going to wake up and your happiness index is going to be 10 points higher than that of our competitors, your healthiness index is going to be 8 points higher than that of our competitors. On average, you're going to get an hour more sleep each night than that of our competitors. You're going to have access to high protein meals, lots of vegetables, high protein snacks. I'm getting hungry as I say that. That is going to be more enticing to people than just a straight up $2,000 a year, $4,000 a year, $5,000 a year. People are going to have to look at other metrics, and the workplace is will have to be able to provide that, more importantly. So workplaces are going to have to look at health metrics as a selling point to working for them. Again, if a workplace can say to you, hey, in the first 6 months of working with us, Most of our employees lose 2 kilos and they keep it off 1, 2, 3, 5 years later because we have non-alcohol events, we have healthy habit scores, we incentivize our employees to get better sleep by providing them with a Whoop strap, which measures their sleep and the heart rate variability, because we have organized running programs where we do, quote unquote fun runs once a month. I don't know how running is fun, but anyway, we have 24/7 access gyms, which also your family members can access. That is going to be a much better and more poignant selling point to people, again, than just money. Because let's face it, an extra $5,000 a year, you're probably going to have to spend in medical bills to undo all the fucking up of all that late night action on calls, all of the early mornings on calls, all of the sitting still on calls, all of the poor food choices because you didn't have time to meal prep, because you didn't have the bandwidth to order something healthy, because you just ate whatever was in front of you because that was better than being starving. $5,000 is not going to be enough. Even $10,000 is probably not going to be enough because you're still not going to be as healthy as if you could be, should you be able to choose a healthier workplace. So again, workplaces will have to have a workplace score. It's going to be a massive selling point to individuals who are tossing up between, do I work here or do I work there? If my healthiness score and happiness score are 10 points higher at workplace 1, where I could go to workplace 2, have a lower happiness and healthiness score, but get paid an extra $5,000, I promise you the people are going to go to the place with the happiness score and healthiness score that's higher, because people are starting to value their health more and more, especially since the pandemic. And we're seeing the importance of putting that first. And we're seeing that, if you want me to work that much, my health is going to suffer that much, you better pay me enough to cover my medical bills. And workplaces are not doing that. Again, if you're working 60 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, not including packing your bags, not including unpacking your bags, not including going to the airport for a flight, not including the flight, so it's probably more than 60 hours. That's 3,120 hours a year. 300K, that's only $96 an hour. It's nothing. It's dog shit, honestly. So people have to keep putting their foot down and insisting that workplaces provide more and take your health more seriously. And if they're not willing to do that, they better get ready to say goodbye to you, because again, people are going to have better options. People are already starting to have better options, and workplaces are starting to value the health of its employees more. But more needs to happen, and that's just what we're going to see in the future. So there's some of my predictions. There's some of them. Again, I hope you found this to be helpful. I hope you found it to be insightful. And I am always open to suggestions on other topics you want covered. So please, of course, send them my way, drop them in the comment section. And I hope you have an amazing day. Stay healthy, of course. Don't work too hard or too late if you can avoid it. Or if you do, make sure you feel fulfilled. That would be my advice. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next live. Thanks for watching.